Art has always been a reflection of its time, shaped by culture, beliefs, and artistic innovations. But what happens when we compare two masterpieces from vastly different eras? Today, we will explore Primavera by Sandro Botticelli, a hallmark of the Italian Renaissance, and the Entombment of Christ by Caravaggio, a dramatic Baroque painting. By analyzing their materials, compositions, themes, and artistic techniques, we will uncover how these two works convey contrasting views on beauty, emotion, and spirituality. Through this video essay, we will discover and answer this question. How do Botticelli and Caravaggio use art to convey different emotional and philosophical messages? Painted in the late 15th century, Primavera is an allegorical celebration of spring and renewal. Created using tempera on wood, this masterpiece stands at approximately 6.5 feet tall and 10 feet wide. Botticelli's palette consists of soft pastel hues with intricate detailing that gives the scene an ethereal quality. The figures appear weightless, floating in a dreamlike setting. Botticelli's composition is carefully arranged to guide the viewer's eyes across the canvas. The central figure, Venus, acts as the focal point, surrounded by mythological figures such as Mercury, the Three Graces, and Flora. The narrative, derived from classical mythology, presents an idealized version of harmony and beauty. These elongated bodies flowing drapery emphasize grace over realism, a common trait in Renaissance art. Botticelli's brushwork is delicate and highly controlled, a characteristic of the early Renaissance style. Unlike the bold and expressive strokes seen in later movements, Botticelli's technique focuses on smooth transition, creating an almost linear quality in his figures. His application of tempera results in a matte, luminous effect, enhancing the otherworldly atmosphere. The intricate detailing in the fabrics, hair, and floral elements showcases his precision, making every aspect of the painting appear deliberate and refined. Thematically, Primavera is an ode to love, fertility, and intellectualism. Unlike the dramatic religious paintings of later periods, this work is serene, inviting contemplation rather than intense emotional reaction. It reflects the Renaissance's fascination with humanism, classical antiquity, and the pursuit of knowledge. Moving forward to the early 17th century, we encounter the Entombment of Christ by Caravaggio, a striking contrast to Botticelli's work. Painted in oil on canvas, this Baroque masterpiece measures approximately 9.8 feet tall and 6.7 feet wide. Caravaggio's use of chiaroscuro, sharp contrast of light and shadow, creates a dramatic, almost theatrical atmosphere. Unlike the balanced, idealized figures in Primavera, Caravaggio's figures are raw and emotional. The central moment of grief is captured with a sense of immediacy, as Christ's lifeless body is lowered into the tomb. The diagonal composition, along with the exaggerated gestures and deep shadows, intensifies the emotional weight of the scene. Every wrinkle, muscle, and tear is rendered with intense realism, making the viewer feel the sorrow of Christ's followers. Caravaggio's brushwork is vastly different from Botticelli's. His technique is dynamic and expressive, with visible strokes that add texture and depth to the composition. Caravaggio employs a looser, more naturalistic approach that heightens the realism of his figures. The paint is layered to create rich tonal variations, making the flesh appear almost tangible. His mastery of light and shadow gives the illusion of 3D, drawing the viewer deeper into the scene. In the painting, the somber color palette, dominated by deep reds, browns, and blacks, further enhances the painting's somber mood. Thematically, the Entombment of Christ conveys suffering, faith, and redemption. Caravaggio's naturalism and dramatic storytelling reflect the Counter-Reformation's push for emotional engagement in religious painting. This is not an idealized moment, but a deeply human one, forcing viewers to confront the reality of death and spiritual devotion. While Primavera and the Entombment of Christ belong to different artistic movements, they share a fundamental purpose: to communicate profound ideas through visual storytelling. However, their execution is vastly different. Botticelli's work embodies the Renaissance's intellectualism and idealized beauty, where Caravaggio's painting exemplifies the Baroque era's raw emotional power and realism. In terms of composition, Botticelli organizes his figures in a balanced, almost decorative manner, whereas Caravaggio uses strong diagonals and chiaroscuro to heighten drama. Primavera presents an allegorical, almost otherworldly realm, while the Entombment of Christ is deeply grounded in human suffering. Moreover, their use of color and lighting reflect their respective artistic goals. Botticelli's delicate, harmonious palette creates a sense of tranquility, whereas Caravaggio's stark contrasts and deep shadows draw the viewers into an intense emotional experience. Another striking difference lies in the treatment of figures. Botticelli elongates and idealizes human forms, emphasizing elegance and grace, while Caravaggio paints subjects with raw realism, showing every imperfection to heighten the emotional impact. One evokes a sense of timeless beauty, while the other a visceral human struggle. The spatial depth in each painting also sets them apart. Primavera has a flattened perspective reminiscent of medieval art, with figures arranged almost like a frieze. In contrast, the Entombment of Christ has a deep, illusionistic space that makes the viewers feel as though they could step into the scene, amplifying its dramatic intensity. Ultimately, these two masterpieces illustrate how art evolves to reflect changing worldviews. The Renaissance's optimism and emphasis on reason stand in contrast to the Baroque's dramatic engagement with faith and emotion. By examining them side by side, we gain insight into not only artistic techniques, but also the shifting perspectives on humanity and spirituality across time. By examining these works together, we uncover not only artistic contrasts, but also deeper cultural shifts. The Renaissance, fueled by humanism, sought to revive classical ideals and celebrate harmony, order, and knowledge. Primavera exemplifies this, presenting a world of myth and beauty untouched by pain or chaos. In contrast, the Baroque period emerged in response to religious upheaval and a counter-reformation, calling for a more visceral connection to faith. Caravaggio delivers this through dramatic lighting, intense realism, and an unfiltered portrayal of human suffering. Yet, despite their differences, both paintings are deeply immersive, drawing the viewer into their respective worlds. Botticelli invites us to admire an allegory of nature's renewal, while Caravaggio compels us to witness the raw grief of Christ's followers. Both works challenge us to engage with deeper themes, whether it is the fleeting nature of beauty and love in Primavera, or the solemn meditation on mortality and redemption in the Entombment of Christ. Ultimately, these two masterpieces demonstrate the power of art to reflect and shape human experience. They remind us that beauty can be found in serenity or sorrow, in idealized grace or stark reality. Through their brushwork, composition, and storytelling, Botticelli and Caravaggio offer us two distinct yet equally compelling visions of the world.